Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Nectar, Sex, and Soul. I'm your host, Soraya Leonora, and I'm a holistic sex and relationship coach. This is a chance for us to get intimate, to reach far into the mystical, magical, erotic, tender, inspiring, vital, primordial depths of what it is to be human, what it is to express and inhabit these amazing bodies fully, and what it is to make love to the divine in everything we do. We'll be penetrating deeply into the nectar of what it is to be alive and turned on by life, how to transmute pain and hardship into pleasure and medicine, how to embody the union of polarities, including sex and spirit, and how to love every piece of ourselves wholeheartedly. This is a space where we don't just talk about the act of sex, but rather how sexual energy permeates every area of our lives as the seed of creation and the source from which we all came. Exploring sexuality in this way not only takes our sex lives to the next level, but is a catalyst for a life that turns us on in each and every moment, not just in the bedroom. Within you stirs a sexual vitality that is capable of so much more than you could possibly imagine. This is what we explore on Nectar, Sex, and Soul. Thanks for coming to play. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nectar, Sex, and Soul with Soraya Leonora. Thank you so much for being here today. Today, I want to discuss the number one quality that makes anyone irresistibly attractive. And it's something not many people would guess. And it's not only something that makes anyone irresistibly attractive, but it honestly makes for much more deeply fulfilling relationships and a much more deeply fulfilling life. So this requires a bit of explaining, so roll with me, and I encourage you to get really curious and honest with yourself around how fully you embody this quality and where you may be blocked in embodying that, where you could potentially cultivate a deeper capacity for this in your life. So I want to start by asking a question about how you relate with yourself. Totally honestly here, would you want to have sex with you? And would you fall in love with yourself if you were another person meeting yourself? And if not, then take a moment to realize if you don't want to have sex with you, why will anyone else? If we are not in a place of really valuing and appreciating and being turned on by ourselves, our magnetism is going to be very diminished. And this is just one piece of what I'm getting into in this whole episode, so stick with me. Cultivating internal arousal is key to attracting what you desire. So we talked a lot about this in the last episode. If you didn't catch the magnetism of desire, I encourage you to get into that episode before coming into this one, because this one kind of builds on that one, but from a different angle, going into a different arena. Our culture has habituated the externalization of our sexual energy, arousal, desirability, and pleasure. Many people don't know how to connect with their sexual energy without the presence or fantasy or performance of another person. And many people's experience of sex exists largely in their minds rather than in their bodies. A lot of women see their sexual energy as for their man, like something that belongs to him, something that they do for him, something that exists to serve his pleasure, rather than something they have sovereignty over that belongs to them, that is sourced from within. And this is especially common in older generations, but it's something I've seen a lot in the clients I work with. So if we're dependent upon others to feel turned on, sexy, and desirable, we're disconnected from our own inner well of vital life force and magnetic pleasure that is essential to our well-being, empowerment, and ability to make magic. When we conjure arousal from within, when we allow ourselves to feel sensually activated and delicious in our own skin, when we're able to turn ourselves on, this is the alluring frequency that coaxes your heart's desires towards you, whether that's another person or another thing, an opportunity, whatever that is. So think of it as making yourself appetizing to all of your wishes, all of your desires, through savoring your own flavor, relishing in your own radiance, ravishing your own existence. Arouse yourself, and you arouse and attract the life you desire. If you cultivate a practice of making love to each and every moment so that life can't help but make love to you in return. And life is always making love with us, and we are often in a place of being blocked or not receptive or shut down or unable to see what life is offering us. So a lot of this has to do with opening up to receive from life fully and to give of ourselves fully to life in each and every moment, however that's presenting itself. So I had a client who was upset about being rejected. And when I asked if he was still working with his self-pleasure practices, he replied, "Well, no, it's just me and my little penis." This kind of attitude signifies to the world that you're not worthy. You're not interesting. You're not exciting. It repels rather than entices. So having a fulfilling relationship with yourself that you're excited to share with others is the key to having thriving, nourishing relationships with others, especially a lover. If your lover views connecting with their own body, with their own sexual energy as, oh, it's just me and my little penis, why would I even bother? Do you feel the frequency of that? Do you feel that there's no turn on there? There's no invitation to go connect with that person. And even though he's obviously not saying this to the people he's trying to court, that energy is being broadcasted. That's what he's feeling in his body. And that's the energy that they are subconsciously picking up on some level. So it all starts with self and branches out from there. Filling your cup so much that it overflows in abundance and tops off the cups of others is the pathway to all you desire. Sourcing your worth and fulfillment from within, rather than grasping for another to fill your voids, will absolutely skyrocket your attraction and magnetism, not just to other people, but to everything you're calling in. When you enjoy the fuck out of yourself, you magnetize others who crave your special sauce, and you attract fulfilling connections simply by having a fulfilling connection with yourself. This is palpable. It's magnetic. So you're not waiting on amazing things to manifest, but are fully enjoying your own company, and anything else is the cherry on top. So I remember when I first discovered this, and I was at a festival in my early 20s. I had just gotten out of this toxic relationship that some of you have heard me talk about before. I was actually on the way to the festival when I broke up with him. And so I was there at the festival with him, but I branched off and did my own thing the entire weekend and was really calling back my energy, coming home to myself, reclaiming my sovereignty. And I was on the dance floor just tuning in with myself, feeling myself. I had my eyes closed. I was totally in my own world, in my body, just letting the music move me. And this guy came up to me, and he was such this little trickster fairy tale character. And he came up with these beaming eyes and this bright smile. And he said, "If you could have anything in the world that you wanted, what would it be?" And I said, "Love." And he laughed and he said, "Don't you already have that?" And then he pranced away with this just all-knowing grin. And it just absolutely cracked me open. It just happened at the right place, at the right time. I was ready to receive that. And I just came home to the love of my own self for the first time ever. I didn't know how disconnected I was from it until this moment. And I had the realization, wow, I really am all the love I seek. And everyone else in my life is just a cherry on top. Like, they are these delicious cherries on top, but ultimately I'm the ice cream sundae. I am the core of the love that I seek. And I just wrapped myself in this hug, and I was so blissed out in this realization. And I thought, okay, now that I found this, I'm never letting go of it again. And I laugh because self-love is very much a journey. It's a maintenance practice. So I lost touch with that many, many times since then. I spun out into all kinds of places of not loving myself, rejecting myself, judging myself, feeling unlovable. But that was my first real taste of it. And that was what planted the seed of awareness that that love exists within me and that I need to cultivate it. So those were breadcrumbs home to myself. And ever since then, I've known it's possible. I know what it feels like, and I know how to bring myself back to that on deeper and deeper levels. So this was a huge breakthrough for me because, like many other people, I was sourcing my sense of self-worth and lovability through another person, and a person who didn't love themselves and was not able to show up to love me. Neither of us were in a place of loving ourselves. And one of the biggest downfalls I see in relationship is that sensing of self-worth and lovability through another person. And we really are products of our conditioning in this way. Pop culture is saturated with music and movies piping these cliche messages of you complete me and I'd be lost without you. You're everything to me. I'm nothing without you. Right? We hear these all the time, and it's this romanticized way of interacting with love. But in my opinion, it's not true love. It's attachment. It's outsourcing. It's this feeling that we are not complete without that other person. This is problematic because these messages have been programmed into us since such a young age on deeply subconscious levels in a way that causes us to seek fulfillment in a way that can never succeed. We are inherently worthy because we exist, because of our innate divinity. We are whole within ourselves. Each person is a microcosm of the whole and contains all the magic of the universe within them. So hinging our self-worth upon our desirability, our attractiveness, the acceptance we receive from other people, and even worse, from one person, so putting all of our eggs in one basket, this makes for a fragile, fragmented human being that is constantly seeking from without to fill a void within that is perpetually leaking. It leads to grasping, needy energy that is dependent on the outside world to fill our cup. But the outside world is fleeting, ever-changing, out of our control. The only constant is us and the divinity that streams through us in each moment with each breath. So if you source your self-worth in another, your world will fall apart when turmoil rattles the security blanket of your quote-unquote love. You will resist the changes you and your lover need to go through that feel threatening to the status quo, rendering your love conditional. If you're sourcing your passion for life in another, the void will get louder when the novelty wears off, and you will look for someone better to fill the insatiable hunger that is impossible for another person to fill. I also see this show up in the way that people navigate their sexuality. Oftentimes, we can use sex as a way to validate our worth, and then our performance. And you've probably heard me say I don't like that word at all in the bedroom because it's not showtime, it's playtime. But our performance, so to speak, can be the thing that makes or breaks our self-worth. We can actually be using somebody and our ability to get them off, to bring them pleasure, to attract them to us as a measuring stick for our self-worth. And this isn't really fair to yourself or to the other person. And this is where we get into sex being this kind of mutual masturbation ego battle, where it's not actually about connection and fulfillment and communication and pleasure, but it's more about I have something to prove to myself, or I'm trying to prove something to this person. So if you feel empty when you're not connecting with another person, when you're just alone, or even while you are connecting with someone, it's time to find connection with the vital life force that animates your being into existence. Find what makes you come alive, what inspires you and piques your curiosity, beckoning you to dig deeper into the infinite caverns of your soul. Not only will you find stunning riches of soulful nourishment, you will have these to offer to your beloved so that your relationship can expand beyond the shallow, dead-end story of relationship that we've been sold. And instead, it can blossom into a sanctuary for you both to grow, thrive, and deepen into sacred union with yourself, first and foremost, and with each other. And from this place, you will be fulfilled both with or without a lover. And this will empower you to only give yourself to relationships that honor and respect you, rather than desperately holding on to something that's not working because it's quote unquote all you have. So I know intimately that deep longing to be filled, to be penetrated by unwavering love and presence. That desire to be loved and adored and explored as the beautiful work of art that you are. And so I ask you, and you can reflect on this in terms of a current lover or a previous one. Do you feel like your beloved falls short of this? Do you resent your lover for not knowing how to fill your cup? Do you crave a lover and feel that these desires cannot be satiated without one? Does your soul have an itch so deep that it seems impossible to scratch? The beloved within, your relationship with divinity, the sacred union that you are made of, so that lovemaking between Shiva and Shakti, that union between matter and spirit, holds an infinite well of sensuous, magical nourishment if you dare to turn within and listen, if you dare to stir the nectar of your own chalice. And it is this connection with your divinity that you crave, that you long to be penetrated by at your very core. It's not something you can project onto your lover. So if we are not cultivating this kind of relationship with the beloved that exists in everything, with the divinity that pulses through us in each moment, we are not going to be able to have this kind of love with another person, at least not in a sustainable way, once the initial oxytocin and honeymoon phase wears off. So we get this whole explosion of oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, this beautiful cocktail that gets us so high when we first connect with somebody. And then we can wonder, why doesn't it feel like that anymore once we get several months into the relationship, several years into it, and we can miss that and crave that. And there are many things that we need to do within a relationship to tend that fire, to stoke that passion. But from my perspective, from my experience, the number one thing we can be doing is filling our cup with the divine that pulses through everything, with the beloved that exists within us. This is the deepest well we can drink from. And when we are satiated by this, when we are quenching our thirst by this infinite well of nourishment, we are in such a more deeply vital, radiant, overflowing place from which we can meet our lover. Now, it is also important to be aware of, are we an aligned match with our lover? If both of us are really putting in the work to cultivate this relationship with self and this relationship with spirit and to be deeply embodied, and we're not able to meet each other, sometimes we're not a good match. Sometimes it takes some extra work to lean in and work out those kinks. And sometimes we have reached a point where we've served the purpose we need to serve in one another's lives, and it is time to move on. So I'm not saying that every single relationship problem will be solved by cultivating this energy within, but this is an incredible compass for each person to come home to and fill their own cup in this way, and then see where that takes the relationship. And if both people are doing that work and it's an aligned match, you will have an incredible relationship where that connection with divinity spills into the connection between you. And it will be that sacred union within that carries into that sacred union without between two people, where it's not coming from a place of you complete me, but it's coming from a place of we are two whole people coming together in our wholeness. So from my perspective, a big piece of feeling whole is having a nourishing connection with the divine, with the whole, with everything that exists within and without, recognizing that we are connected to all that is. And one of my favorite books is called The Spirit of Intimacy. It's written by Sobonfu Somé. And she is a woman of the Dagara tribe in Burkina Faso in West Africa. And this book shares the cultural perspectives that they hold on intimacy. And it's so beautiful and so fascinating and vastly different from how we experience intimacy and sexuality here in the West. So they look at intimacy as connection with all things. And they actually see Westerners' desire for romance as a desire for connection with spirit. And when we feel like we're lacking that connection with spirit, we can be trying to outsource that sense of fulfillment, that sense of self-worth in another person. We're trying to fill that void with another person, but really, from their perspective and from mine as well, it's a need to turn towards spirit and to nurture our connection with spirit. And so when you can meet yourself at this sacred well and sip of the ambrosia of the divine, your thirst is always quenched and your cup is always overflowing. The temple which houses your spirit is rich with enchanting landscapes to inspire and so much inner space to explore. Courting the beloved within is the most beautiful dance. It's a soulful flirtation, a coaxing of the eternal into the present, where it always exists, but we constantly resist. The beloved is in all things. It's in us, it's in nature, it's in the people around us, it's in each experience. So this homecoming to the beloved is a blossoming, an unfolding, an opening petal by petal with every breath. Seeking melts into remembrance. Striving dissolves into allowing. Chasing fades into receiving. All stories of resistance collapse into the now, and the warmth of this beating heart and breathing belly are all that remains as life pulses between spirit and flesh. This inner wholeness is always here, asking you to turn towards it and say yes, longing for you in the same way you long for it. And this ache in your heart is the beloved calling you home to yourself. Fulfillment is an inside job. It's a willingness to be raptured by each moment, to say yes to the isness of the now, tasting and savoring its flavor no matter how bitter or sweet or sour. And when I say fulfillment is an inside job, I don't mean that we're meant to go it alone, that we're meant to be fiercely independent and not need anyone else. We are social creatures. We evolved to co-regulate, to exist in community. And so saying it's an inside job doesn't mean that you're supposed to have it all together on your own. But what I'm speaking to is it's an internal perspective shift that can change how fulfilled we are by each moment. It's an opening to curiosity, receiving what each moment has to offer. The sacred, the profane, the mundane, they're all one and the same. And the sacred lives within all things. So can you embrace it in all of its forms? Can you humble to the reflection that each permutation reveals as an aspect of you, recognizing that every experience is a face of love, is a face of divinity? So a few examples of how we can relate with this concept in a practical way. Try massaging that tension in your body from the inside out with your breath, really allowing yourself to feel it, allowing your body to self-nourish through movement and presence. So just taking a moment to breathe right now, breathe into the spaces of tension, open them up, allowing yourself to feel. noticing what's here. How about that uncomfortable conversation you need to have? Lean into it. Taste the awkward. Open to the opportunity this conflict has to offer. So you can work with that in the same way we just did with the breath. That pile of dirty dishes, allow your hands to luxuriate in the hot water. Steep yourself in gratitude for the clean water available to you on tap. Sing a song, let your hips sway, appreciate your reflection in the window or the scenery just past it. Allow it to be a meditation. How about that overwhelming arousal when you don't have anyone to share it with? Light some candles, burn some incense, put on your favorite sexy beats, melt some coconut oil, and let those hands slowly, luxuriously, sensually, curiously caress and explore that beautiful earthship of yours. Offer yourself the same affection you would to a lover. Breathe and enjoy. Satiation always lies within, patiently awaiting our engagement. What you crave exists in an infinite well inside of you. Eros is woven into every moment. Courting the beloved is something we can do in every action, every breath. The beloved longs for us in the way we long for the beloved. What we desire also desires us. It's calling us home to the frequency that is a match to attract it. So turn towards it and quench your thirsty lips. Let it trickle all the way down to your hips. Do you know how beautiful you are? Will you answer the call of the beloved in each moment to turn within and say yes to the love, to the aliveness, to the juiciness that exists in each and every here and now? So, my loves, to sum it up, the most irresistibly attractive quality is knowing how to fill your own cup with source energy, with spirit, being connected to the divinity within you, the aliveness, the vitality within you. Cultivating a nourishing relationship with the beloved within that you then get to share with everyone else. So, my loves, I will leave you with a quote by Rumi that I think is appropriate here. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built up against it. Thank you so much for joining me today on Nectar, Sex, and Soul. Ciao. Thank you so much for dropping into Nectar, Sex, and Soul with me today. It's been a pleasure to connect with you. If this episode lit you up or illuminated something impactful for you in some way, I invite you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone you feel would love to hear it. To learn more about my work, check out sorayaleonara.com, sign up for my newsletter, and follow me on Instagram and YouTube, where I share tons of free content, special offers, and ensure you're the first to know about my new offerings. I offer private coaching as well as courses, workshops, and retreats, so be sure to stay in touch if you'd like to go deeper together. Thank you, loves. Have a gorgeous day. Ciao.